Welcome back. This week marks the annual trek up to Mackinac Island for the policy conference. And if you're Wayne County Executive Warren Evans, I imagine you probably just want to print out a couple of cards explaining where things stand right now, because Warren Evans, you are going to be asked nonstop about what's going on with the jail versus bringing in a soccer stadium. Let's start there. Good to have you here, by the way, this morning.
Thanks. Good to be here. It's probably a good idea to put together some cards, question and answer, because a lot of it is stuff that the average person doesn't really see that factors in the equation. And
it's far more complicated than it appears, isn't it?
It is. It is. One of the biggest things is people think it's, let's put the cost aside for a minute. People, well, can't put it aside, but people think that we're only talking about the jail site, which means where the jail sits. And they don't understand that is not the footprint of the proposed entertainment soccer center. Takes away our courthouse, the jail site, and the juvenile detention facility, all of which would have to be rebuilt somewhere else or something repurposed, and I don't know that there's the ability to repurpose that. And the juvenile detention facility poses a particular issue because I'm not interested in privatizing the care of our kids. And so it's a bigger piece. I've been trying to finish the existing jail, not because I love the site or not because I love the mess we're in or any of that, but because it's the cheapest way to get the county a jail without any more, not any more.
Yeah, the cheapest way is one that's costing you $1 million right now a month.
Exactly.
That says a lot.
That's absolutely true.
But when I thought it was an interesting game of poker when Dan Gilbert and Tom Gores say there is no plan B, aren't they telling you we're here to help you solve your problem? I mean, I don't know where the dollars go, but they're kind of telling you to write the number in on the check, aren't they?
Well, no. What they're saying is we think we might be able to fill in the gap between what it's going to cost you to finish, but saying that they can and doing it in a timely way, because there are two issues. One is a dollar issue. I don't want Wayne County taxpayers to pay any more than the minimum to complete the existing facility. Anything over that needs to be guaranteed by someone else. But the other equation is we've been sitting here for nigh on to 3 years now waiting to get a jail off the ground. So our operating costs, maintenance costs are crazy. I need to get it done now. So the idea of, well, we think we can fill in the hole, so stop the process and let us do this. We've been working on this process for 15 months. I'm not stopping anything. If they catch up, we could talk.
Well, how long do you think it will take for us to have these? I guess we're in the middle of side-by-side studies on what it takes, what it would be moving to Mound Road versus staying there. How long before we have an answer?
Well, we're way along the path of what it will cost to stay here. We're a couple of months away from putting out an RFP that will get us a contained cost. The question is, how quickly can they find an alternative that doesn't cost Wayne County taxpayers any more money? So I just want to be clear. I don't have any problem with an entertainment venue on the site. I just have a real problem. Wayne County taxpayers have already sunk $150 million in the failed jail project. It is my fiduciary responsibility to make sure they don't pay any more than they have to finish the jail.
And if you can find a way to make it less of a failure, then I guess that's key. You're in the middle of an interesting statewide tour right now, trying to convince others to join you in revolutionizing the way that we fund municipalities in the state of Michigan. Our revenue sharing model to you is really broken.
Yeah, it is. And it couldn't be clearer to me, because from where we took the county with everyone saying, you know, oh, this is just bankruptcy and emergency manager and this and that. Well, that's not going to happen. And I think people understand that's not going to happen. We've balanced the budget.
That says a lot, because that was the conversation you and I were having on this program months ago. Yes.
Absolutely. And I felt we could get out of it, and we did. And now we have a balanced budget. But even with a balanced budget, there is not enough money there to provide the level of services that Wayne County taxpayers deserve, and frankly, we want to give them. There are not enough prosecutors in the prosecutor's office. There are not enough deputies at the jails. There's not enough money for road and infrastructure, bridges. And you can't eke that out of the revenue sharing that we get. And so at some point, there has to be an influx of money. Now, everybody hollers, well, tax increase.
You must be talking about a tax increase.
What I am talking about is a formula that allocates more money, more of our money, that goes to the state back to the local municipalities than we get now. Now, what it says for sure is the state ought to get less and we ought to get more. If you're talking about the same dollars, and I understand.
And that's probably the only way you can get these other municipalities on board, because, for instance, when you're in the UP, as I noticed you'll be, in fact, I noticed you picked August to go to the UP instead of January.
Right.
Mama didn't raise no
Sound
fool.
thinking, right?
Yes. But trying to convince them that you're on the same page, you've got to convince them that this is not big city versus rural Michigan. This is state versus local.
Absolutely. And so some of the easiest decisions you would think in one part of the state aren't in the other part of the state. And so, and it has to be a consensus. I mean, you look at the state legislature, you look at the state now, if it's not bipartisan, it's not going to happen. And while people can focus on, well, it's not going to happen, I am more inclined to focus on it's broke now. So let's start the discussion. There are a number of municipal finance experts that I'm still learning from every day, and I would think people in my position throughout the state could learn more, understand more about how we got to where we are, and hopefully come up with some solutions.
We had a hard time, I guess, envisioning a day when property values would drop so much that it would mean less revenue. That's where we ended up. But schools are wrapped up in the way that they're funded in this conversation as well.
No, absolutely, they are. And you know, arguably, with the debt service that schools are paying, there is a disproportionately smaller amount of money that kids in urban areas, Detroit, for example, and others are paying now. I mean, you know, the purists can sit there and say, well, you shouldn't have created the debt service. I'm more concerned with the kid.
With where we're going.
Who had nothing to do with creating the debt service. And so if we're going to be competitive going forward, this region and you know, the city and the mayor have done great things to build the city. But without schools and educated people to hit the workforce, we're going to have problems down the line. Let's deal with them now.
Well, I know your outreach on this topic begins in earnest up on Mackinac this week. We will see you up there and look forward to seeing you. Thanks very much for coming in this morning.
Thanks, Dick.